The US president has urged China to investigate his main political rival, Joe Biden, making the extraordinary request on live television. Donald Trump is already facing an impeachment inquiry over allegations he asked Ukraine to do the same thing.
Right now, the president is facing an impeachment probe for asking Ukraine to investigate his potential 2020 rival. And yet today, he said he'd do it again.
China should start an investigation into the Bidens.
This time it was on live TV that he requested help from a foreign leader to bring down the Democrat.
Because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. I think Biden is going down.
It comes on a momentous day in Washington, where the inquiry into impeaching Donald Trump called its first witness, Kurt Volker. The diplomat is pivotal to the whistleblower complaint that sparked the probe, accused of meeting with Ukrainian leaders the day after Donald Trump's demands for dirt on Biden.
We're getting reports that security forces have fired on dozens of protesters in Baghdad, the capital city, under curfew since Thursday after days of anti-government protests. And we're hearing as we said, they were fired on by police on Friday. Imran Khan joins us on the phone from the Iraqi capital. Imran, what were you hearing there?
From the early hours of Friday morning up until now, there have been various pockets of protesters who have been defying the curfew. They've been out on the streets trying to push towards Tahrir Square in central Baghdad. That's the focal point for the protesters. They've been fired upon by the Iraqi security forces, who have also used tear gas and water cannons to try and disperse them. So what we're seeing now is it's not in the same kind of number as we saw before the curfew, but it is still very, very significant.
Our top story this morning, North Korea's chief nuclear envoy negotiator has voiced high expectations and optimism for the regime's upcoming working-level nuclear talks with the US that will take place in the Swedish capital of Stockholm. This comes as US President Donald Trump brushed off North Korea's latest test fire of a claimed, submarine-launched ballistic missile, saying the talks with Pyongyang will continue as planned.
North Korea's top nuclear negotiator Kim Myung-gil and his delegation arrived in Stockholm on Thursday, ahead of this weekend's working-level denuclearization negotiations with the U.S. They arrived at Stockholm's Arlanda airport at around 5:40 p.m. local time on a flight from Beijing. Before his arrival in Sweden, the North Korean envoy said he was optimistic the talks will go well.
Now the latest on Senator Bernie Sanders. We're hearing from his wife this morning as the presidential candidate recovers from a heart procedure in the hospital.
Good morning, Michael. Bernie Sanders is on the mend in Las Vegas. After that heart surgery earlier this week, doctors inserting 2 stents to unblock an artery. But already, his wife Jane says, he's raring to go.
He's doing great. It's exciting that he's going to be out of here tomorrow, the next day.
This morning, Bernie Sanders' wife, Jane Sanders, is speaking out about the presidential hopefuls' health.
I mean, he looks more energetic than he has been.
Standing in front of the Las Vegas hospital where Sanders is being treated for a blocked artery, she says he's doing better, but she wouldn't comment on whether the 78-year-old senator suffered a heart attack.
Had a blockage and put in one artery, and they put in 2 stents. It's very common procedure.
Typhoon Mitag that has come and gone, but the southern parts of the country was hit hard by the storm, with 12 people being killed due to heavy rain and powerful winds.
It's been dubbed a record-breaking water bomb. As of 6:40 a.m. in the morning of Friday, authorities say Typhoon Mitag killed 12 people and left 2 missing. Among the dead, the body of a 65-year-old female owner of a small restaurant was found at around 4 p.m. on Thursday, about 7 hours after she was buried under a landslide in the southeastern port city of Busan. A 44-year-old man and his parents were also killed in the landslide. The season's 18th typhoon slammed the country's southern and eastern regions with torrential rain and strong winds, causing victims to be swept away by flash floods and buried under the landslide.
Construction continues on Ethiopia's Great Renaissance Dam. For the past 8 years, Ethiopia has been building the $4.4 billion hydropower dam. When it is finished, it will be the world's 6th largest.
We are constructing a transmission line, which is almost 1,000 kilometers from Ethiopia to Kenya, which might extend to the southern part of the region as well.
Egypt is also on the Nile, and it is where almost all of its fresh water comes from. And the government says the dam will drastically reduce its water supply. Egypt insists previous international agreements prevent countries from damming the Nile. Some in Ethiopia have denied the dam will be an issue for Egypt. But some experts say much depends on the management of the flow of the Nile and how fast Ethiopia fills its reservoir.
From olives to mussels, cheese and wine, all are among European products to be hit with Washington's latest tariffs in 2 weeks' time, greenlit at the World Trade Organization after it said the US could impose them on $7.5 billion worth of goods from the continent. 10% will be slapped on EU aircraft, while 25% goes on everything else, giving producers and exporters a looming headache.
For us, it's a real blow to the head. We produce around 400,000 bottles, and a good 20% of that goes to North America, and in particular, the United States.
Elsewhere, Scotch whisky and clothing from the UK, tools and coffee from Germany, and cheese from across the EU are to be hit. The 25% is still far below the 100% tariffs the US warned it might implement in April. What's more, certain sectors have been spared, such as chocolate, luxury goods like whiskey from Ireland, or French cognac and champagne.
Getting rid of fossil fuel is not going to solve the problem fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you, you're a pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now, please. You are so great. I'm so happy that you really support a nuclear deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution. So we have to get rid of the babies. That's a big problem. Just stopping having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies, and this is very serious. Please give a response.
Thank you. No, thank you. We'll go ahead. I think we all need to understand that there are a lot of solutions that we have and that we can pursue, and that if we act in a positive way, there's space for hope.